We founded DataBiologics several years ago to provide a simple, user-friendly, and practical platform for the collection of patient-reported outcomes on orthobiologic procedures.
And the goal, of course, as a whole, is to be able to draw clarity for this field, which is very fragmented as to which products work and which don't, and to help share those with all the members who are part of DataBiologics.
I just raced in from having spent the last day at the Biologics Association down in Nashville, where we talked for 10 hours about biologics, data that's present, data that's absent, data that we would like to have, data that the regulators would like us to have, data that reimbursement wants to see in order to justify some of the high expenses. And I'm a huge fan of data collection.
I think what you're doing is really important, particularly in this field of regenerative medicine.
Biologics has been an early promise in orthopedics, has really accelerated in the last decade with a whole range of new products and new approaches. And it has always sort of been more promise than delivery, even though the volume of patients who are being treated with biologics continues to grow. I think one of the areas where biologics has really lagged and has been for at least a decade, at every surgeon meeting, there is the same refrain: where is the data? Here's a young company called DataBiologics that is tackling that one issue head on, and frankly, I think doing a magnificent job and making great progress. I am just so happy to have this company present today.
Hi, I'm Gerard Malanga. I am the founder of New Jersey Regenerative Institute and co-founder of DataBiologics. I've been involved in regenerative treatments for orthopedic conditions for over a decade and have been collecting data from the very beginning. Out of a dissatisfaction with the currently available platforms that were available to us to collect real-world evidence, we founded DataBiologics several years ago to provide a simple, user-friendly, and practical platform for the collection of patient-reported outcomes on orthobiologic procedures. The field of regenerative medicine as a whole, and in particular related to orthopedic conditions, offer great hope for patients who are trying to avoid various types of surgical procedures and other invasive treatments. However, these treatments need to be further validated in terms of safety and efficacy, and so we need a great deal more data regarding this. Our platform makes it easy for clinicians to track the success of these various treatments, as well as contributing to a larger global registry that can then further determine the nuances of the efficacy of these various treatments that are offered to patients.
At DataBiologics, our platform was designed by physicians for physicians in busy clinics. The physicians also understand the nuances of regenerative medicine and have customized the platform to assist in capturing that type of data. The valid outcomes measures can be compared to prior studies and include things such as pain, function, disease-specific areas, mental health, adverse events, and satisfaction. The platform makes it simple to enroll a patient, and the platform itself has intervals that are fixed that will send patients reminders to capture that follow-up outcome data. This patient outcome data is invaluable to the treating physician to separate them from the noise that's out there in the regenerative medicine community and the bad actors. It's also of utmost interest to the treating physicians to demonstrate the best evidence-based care for their individual patients.
Over the past 2 years, we've grown to enroll 65 physicians from 43 clinics across the country who have enrolled over 3,000 patients. Our business model is primarily focused on a software service for our valued member clinicians who have enrolled in DataBiologics. We also hope to service device manufacturers and other industry players who are interested in gaining valuable insights into their products to determine the efficacy and safety of these products.
We'll start off actually with Scott, lead off our questioning on DataBiologics.
I just raced in from having spent the last day at the Biologics Association down in Nashville, where we talked for 10 hours about biologics, data that's present, data that's absent, data that we would like to have, data that the regulators would like us to have, data that reimbursement wants to see in order to justify some of the high expenses. And I'm a huge fan of data collection. The first question that comes to mind is, having just seen a little bit of the demonstration, is how do you think about stratifying that data, and will it account for all kinds of therapeutic options?
To answer your question, we're able to track a variety of orthopedic conditions, including spine as well. And we're not limiting that really in any capacity. What we're focusing on is regenerative treatments, whether it's a PRP or a bone marrow or another emerging treatment like shockwave or adipose therapy. Those are all options for physicians who are interested in tracking their outcomes. And so it's across the board. We're focused right now on non-surgical solutions, but it's not limited to any specific type of treatment. Any specific type of diagnosis. Other than that, it is focused on orthopedic conditions. Really, the goal here is then for that to be able to drive personalized care for patients.
And so thank you for that clarity. But for sites or centers or physicians that enroll, that are participants and offer this to their patients to collect the data, how do you see the data being made available?
Yeah, so each clinic has their own dashboard for viewing their outcomes. So within a clinic, they're able to view their patient outcomes in some of those ways that I just mentioned. So looking at various treatments for different diagnoses and what the outcomes are for their collective group of patients, as well as for individual patients. So looking at that patient chart and being able to track over time what were their outcomes.
The last question I'll ask, unless we wind up going around again, is, as you think, and first of all, also congratulations on that nice report that came out a couple of months ago.
Thank you.
Nicely done. Is here in the pitch, we're listening to business opportunities for people that are looking for capital to build a business that they then create value and sell or license or do something for those people who've made investment. What is your model, and what are you thinking about? What are you asking for, and what's the end game?
Sure. So our model right now is primarily software as a service through a subscription base. So clinicians who sign up to use the platform, they pay a yearly subscription to use the DataBiologics platform. And that's primarily our focus right now. Going forward, we're also discussing with different enterprise organizations, whether they're device makers, product makers, who are interested in some of this data to help understand or validate their treatments, whether that's through some sort of FDA pathway or whether that's more so for product or commercialization purposes. And so those are ways that we're also looking to bring in revenue going forward.
And the fee?
Yep. So it's a $500 onboarding and implementation fee, and then $1,500 per year.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Great. Thank you very much. Great question, Scott. Thank you so much. Tony, I'm going to move over to you.
First is something that I had developed 25 years ago as an analyst when both Robin and I were analysts, and that I call the innovation algorithm of orthopedics. I call it the 4 R's: remove, repair, replace, regenerate. In each of those R's, the volume of procedures increases, the value of the outcomes increases, and the benefit to the patient increases. Your focus is regenerative care, so I think that your direction is an excellent direction to focus your collection of information on regeneration. That's the largest market opportunity in all of orthopedics. So can you talk to us about how you're going to multiply the value of the business by creating streams of revenue at very high gross margins that'll make it attractive for yourselves and others to invest in this business, to collect the data that you want to collect? So talk about the revenue streams and the absolute growth rate or the rate of change of growth that you're able to create?
Sure. Yeah, so just to go back a little bit, we were founded and started, officially launched for beta testers in 2018. And over the past 2 years, we brought on 65 physicians across 43 clinics. Again, they were piloting the DataBiologics platform. So we had a lot of growth initially in bringing on new clinicians. That was really important for us. But at the same time, it pointed out a lot of flaws with our platform and our technology. So over the past 6 months, we've actually redeveloped our entire platform from scratch. And now, just in the past week, we've officially relaunched to bring on new members. So the goal going forward now is to sign up as many new members as possible.
I would love to look at this data as an investor. I personally think the biggest value here is being able to detect early which technologies are working and which aren't, and then investing in those technologies that are working. So I actually think that the biggest value that can be generated from this as an investor is to determine, based on the data that's coming in, where to invest capital behind what companies and what technologies. And the final comment is that I think the data warehouse that you are building could be very valuable for the community of device companies that requires to submit data being collected through the European MDRs as their technologies proliferate outside the United States. So there's a real regulatory power that this data set has that you need to think about how to mine for value, M-I-N-E, mine for value. So congratulations on this direction.
Thank you.
Terrific.
Thank you. Appreciate the input.
Yeah, terrific commentary. Thank you, Tony. Audrey.
Luke, congratulations. I've just been fascinated with this kind of tool and data gathering method for many years after getting some visibility to the AJRR and other registries. I think what you're doing is really important, particularly in this field of regenerative medicine. As the treatments, expand and patients have more and more choices, the ability for surgeons to make the right recommendation to the right patient at the right time, I think is just really paramount. So I'm really excited to see where this goes. I'm curious, in terms of the information that's entered, what the actual time commitment is of the surgeon and his office in terms of entering the data, and if there's any kind of overlap with EMRs or other data that's already electronically available.
Sure. Yeah, so our mnemonic for our company has been SUP, simple, user-friendly, and practical. And because it was founded and run by clinicians, we really focused on the clinical workflow and how it's actually implemented there. And I think that's one of our biggest assets. We've seen our competitors who are unable to fully understand the nuances of this field of regenerative medicine and how clinicians operate and how MAs enter information into various portals. And so we've really streamlined our process so it's simple for the MA or the clinician to enter the initial data for that patient. And so that's basic demographic and contact info. And then for the patient to be able to fill out those patient-reported outcomes. And the time commitment for the patients is really less than 2 minutes for them to fill out these surveys. And they're getting these at 1 month, 3, 6, and 12-month follow-ups, and then every 6 months going forward.
Does the patient get any view of their data, or do they only get a view of what's going on when they see their surgeon?
Yeah, so currently we haven't built out the ability for them to track their progress over time, but that's one of our huge focuses. So right now it would show up in their patient chart if the physician pulled up their information in DataBiologics platform at a follow-up visit, and so that can be extremely helpful. But we do want to also provide that directly to the patient. In addition to that, we want to try to engage the patient more in their care process and even take a step back and help them to find the best treatments for themselves.
Thank you. And what are you thinking from a regulatory standpoint? Are there any regulatory implications with this SaaS model?
Yeah, so we really focused on the different areas of compliance and what approach we wanted to take. And so the approach we're taking here is that no PHI is being collected by DataBiologics. That's all kept within the individual clinics. So we're removing that so that we're not dealing with patient data. And then in terms of the regulatory stuff surrounding regenerative medicine, we've been careful to stay in the correct lane and to be tracking outcomes on products that are compliant.
So you don't anticipate a regulatory filing just on the availability? I mean, you're already in the market, so you likely would have had to do it already if it was going to be a Class 2 device.
Correct, and that's not the domain that we're necessarily working in. We're working with devices that are already either approved or that they fall outside of this scope of needing regulation from the FDA.
Okay, yeah, something to keep an eye on. The FDA is still kind of changing the rules of the game with
Absolutely.
Options. So
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, they're still figuring it all out, and that's why they need data. So a couple quick questions, and then we'll go right into polling, but very quickly, a year from now, 2 years from now, in terms of the size of your database, where do you think you can get to?
Sure. So right now, we have 4,000 patients enrolled, and we've collected 12,000 data points from those patients. The goal, that we've set is to be able to enroll 100 physicians by the end of this year. And then from there, the data set grows exponentially.
Audience, what do you think? Let's put up the poll. Let's see if we've got ourselves a game changer, challenge standard of care, promising, needs more work. Where does DataBiologics fall? And the answers are, well, this is very interesting. About a third, it's a winner, future game changer. These are obviously the data junkies out there. Most said it's promising, but needs more work. I think this is a reflection of where you are in your development. I think you said last week, you came up with a new iteration, but you're really on the way. You can see that 95% put you in the top section. So that's outstanding work. Well, everybody, this has been just one of our best pitches, I think. Audrey, thank you. Tony, as always, what a pleasure.